Wagwan, ya bamba clats. Welcome back. Glad you made it. It's not a social production. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining me once again. It is Wednesday, the 18th of 2026. I hope you're all doing well wherever you're tuning in from, whether it's Canada, mi familias, further down south, more of my mi familias, in the United States of Americas, all the beautiful states, further down south, Mexico, South America, Europe, Asia, Africa, Antarctica, Papua New Guinea, New Zealand, Finland, the Finnish people, Swedish meatballs, over there in Italy, over there in Senegal, over there in Nairobi, and Egypt and Cairo, over there, what's underneath your pyramids? Quit being weird. Let us dig. Over there in Cambodia, over there in Singapore, Kuala Lumpur, over there in friggin' Sri Lanka. What's going on, everybody? Thank you for joining me once again. If it's your first time, buckle up, buckle down. If you've been with me from the get-go, you know what time it is. It's skirt time. Skirts. Oh, let's get a sip of this shit right here. You know what we do. We give back. We touch topics that are personal, communal, anal, rectal. Doesn't matter. The point is, I hope your tits are buoyant and I hope your balls are fighting gravity. Like your life depends on it. Let's get started. Let's get right into it because we do give back, because we listen to the folks out there. Thank you for all the love and support. And thank you for the communication. People, I just put my ear to the ground, hear what the people are saying, and try to respond back accordingly. And I hope to be of service. That's one of the main pillars of this podcast, to be of service. So without further ado, let's get right into it. Somebody came in and asked us a beautiful question, and for the sake of anonymity, you'll remain nameless. You'll die without your name being known, because that's for anonymity. We care to keep that safe. So for the sake, let's just call you Sebastian. Let's just call you Sebastian called in, or I won't even say if he called. That's how it's anonymous this freaking conversation is with Sebastian. You don't know if it's email or a phone call. It could have been wiretapped. It could have been fucking Morse code. It could have been just staring at each other through Zoom and then just and then taking shrooms and then reading each other's minds. It doesn't even matter. But the message came in. Thank you for the wonderful question, and thank you for putting yourself out there, Sebastian. That is your real name. That's actually, what if that was his real name? What if that's his real name? Do a fucking, do that double, do that switch or root. Sebastian is not his real name, or is it? Doesn't matter. His concern is far more real than you can imagine. Let's just get right into it. Sebastian, thank you for your call, email call, phone call, FaceTime. Thank you for your Zoom. Thank you for moving in with me, Sebastian, and letting me know about your personal life. Sebastian wrote something, and maybe something that actually impacts you out there as well. It's, again, we've said it once, we'll say it again. If it's impacting one person in the world, it's probably impacting more than one person in the world. And that's fucking written somewhere. Check it out. Sebastian says his girlfriend likes to have him watch her take a shit in the bathroom. While she's taking a shit, she likes Sebastian to watch. And once again, thank you for putting yourself out there, for being vulnerable and open to us. And you asked for assistance on how to deal with this matter, and that's what your boy does. Your boy comes in here with the fucking assist. Alley-oop, it's a dunk, touchdown, quit touching yourselves. But also touch yourselves. So your girl wants to have you watch her take a shit. Now how do you want to go about this situation? I failed to ask Sebastian whether or not he'd like to remain in the relationship or he'd like to cut it off immediately. So because I'm not privy to that information, let us give him the best of two worlds and leave it up to Sebastian and for you to decide what you'd like to do with a similar circumstance. And first and foremost, are we going to stay with this chick? Are we going to stay with this bitch? Do we love her enough to say, you know what? She does everything else great. She's caring. She's loving. She's intriguing. She is curious. She's got titties. She's got and they're fluffy and they're extra firm, and they don't sag too low. They don't sag too high. They're not fucking, extra buoyant, because you don't want those tits either. People are always talking about gravity dragging tits far, far below where they're supposed to be, and then people forget sometimes when the titty is too buoyant, and it's just like, oh, she's got to wear a turtleneck at all times to keep those puppies down. That too could be a cumbersome endeavor. Nonetheless, the point is, ladies and gentlemen, that if you decide, let's just, because I'm a lover, you're a lover, most of us are, we're not, we're not fighters, I'll speak for myself, lover, not a fighter. So we're gonna keep this bitch in our life, and she cooks, she gives you kisses, she does the cuddles, her vag is tight, anal is on the menu, not all the time, but it's on the menu. So, and blowjobs, it's blowjob city with her. Let's just call her Tracy and Sebastian. So you're gonna keep this bitch. She wants you to watch while she takes a shit, and she wants you to do it all the time. How do you do this? I say get rid of the bathroom door. Get rid of the entire bathroom door, and that way you could be walking around, and whenever she's about to take that shit, Sebastian, may I call you Bastion? Or just Shin. Just Shin for Bastion. Let's just call you Bastion for short for Sebastian. Remove the bathroom door. Remove the bathroom. You don't even need it. If the door was invented to block the whole taking the shit in a communal sense, it was to prevent others from seeing. But if your bitch wants to have you watch while she takes it, remove the entire bathroom door. That's one option. Second option, you're like, what if I want to still have a door, but I want to be able to see her take a shit? Replace your door. Replace your door. Why go with a wooden door? It's 2026. Excuse me, what time is it? You know what time it is. It's 2026. Full, head to toe, full blown. Door made of glass door. See her. She could even close the door. That way you won't be facing the smells, but you'll be facing the shits, which is nice. You get to see her take a shit behind the glass door. It's like an aquarium, but with your bitch, and she's taking a shit, and she's not a fish. So it's nothing like an aquarium, unless you fill the bathroom, which now has a glass door, with water, which in some sense would at times look like a aquarium or a fish tank or fish bowl. She'll die in there, of course, if you leave the body, in water for if it's, filled to capacity, that unless she grows gills. Maybe your bitch has gills, and I don't know that. I'm not gonna sit here and judge whether or not she's got gills. The point is, a glass door would allow you, Sebastian, to watch Tracy take a hot one anytime, any day, during any week of any month, and unless it's a leap year. Other than that, any year. So there's two instances where you're like, okay, great, Rob, I can watch her take a shit when I'm inside the house, but what if I want to watch her? What if she wants me to watch her take a shit all the time? This is where technology comes into play, my friend. Again, little camera, little GoPro. Install it in your toilet bowl. Every time she's about to go take a shit, tap into your GoPro, wherever you are, watch her take a shit in HD. That's probably a better look than you'd get just, compared to just walking by her. You'll get a closer look to her shitter while she's sitting down and taking a shit in front of a camera. Of course, that does leave you open. Anything that's being recorded is always open to being tapped by, if you've got potential enemies who'd like to, break in and fish. You know what I'm talking about. Fish on your shit and catch a glimpse of your girl taking a shit, then you might be exposed in that sense, and somebody could blackmail you later and be like, check out this video of your bitch taking a shit. You're like, that's private. And they don't care about that. So there's pros and cons to everything. Other than that, you could, if you're like, what if she could use a camcorder every time she takes, if you want to get rid of you don't want to expose yourself to potential blackmail, she could get an old school 90s camcorder, record herself every time she takes a shit, put the video on put the video in a little envelope, ship it to you wherever you are via FedEx. It's not going to be instant, of course, but then you'll have to invest in you'll have to buy some old school tech that plays videotapes, like a VCR and shit. And that's, but that's fine. That's fine. You can do that. So these are the methods in which you could use to watch your girl take a shit. Have you considered taking a shit? If she likes to have you watch her take a shit, would you be okay as to going as to so far as to, let's say, sitting down face to face on the same toilet bowl? You sit down first. She sits on your lap face to face. You both take a shit at the same time. You both see each other take a shit. And these are some methods that I'm providing for you. Of course, anybody out there, if you're in a similar circumstance, whether it's a situationship or a relationship or a friends with benefits, nonetheless, one of you has this habit of asking the other to watch them take a shit. If you have any other means of going about on how to deal with this situation, please feel free to leave a comment. If you're a practitioner, leave a comment. If you're curious, leave a comment. If you've had any hurdles, but you've overcome them in this particular scenario, please do leave a comment. I hope that helps, Sebastian, Tracy. You're a freak, but we love you out there. I hope this relationship lasts. Of course, these were tips on how to keep this relationship going. Otherwise, if you find any of this repulsive, then simply dump the bitch. Never speak of it. Keep it private to yourself. Don't mention her name. And this could, of course, in this scenario, it was the chick that was taking a shit. In other instances, it could be a guy that likes to take a shit and have his girlfriend or boyfriend watch them while they take that shit. Whether or not you want to stay with them is completely your call. Leave a comment if you've stayed with them, and I hope this helps. You're welcome out there. Giving back. This isn't a PSA. This is just part of the gig, being of service. Let's get a sip of this right here, bad boys and bad gals. It's time to skirt. Shall we skirt? I think we can skirt, but traditionally we'd skirt with a Hemi engine, with that thing that goes boom, with that thing that goes room, with that thing that fucking, with the cylinders, and that's how we skirt with the handbrake and the fuel and the oil and the pistons and the tranny inside the hood, and that's how we skirt traditionally speaking. But tech has gotten us farther in life than we'd ever imagined. And today, of course, you're all familiar with the products of Tesla, the beautiful car that's electric. It goes extremely fast, but I've heard they're now releasing a new version of the Tesla, which does not come with a steering wheel. It's a no steering wheel car. So we went from driverless cars to no steering wheel cars. And this is a situation where we're gonna have to take a look and say, what are the pros and cons of this shit? Do we want to live in a world where we have no steering wheels on our cars, or cars, as they say in parts of Britain, in the UK, cars, or in Australia, that's a nice car, right? Car. No steering wheel. I think we're gonna have to start drawing a line in the sand. I think we're gonna have to get a bunch of sand and draw a line on it. Of course, having to draw lines in the sand could be is it senseless to draw lines in the sand, because sand is easily, with the wind coming in and the tide always coming in and out, washing the line in the sand, perhaps move further away from the shoreline, but nonetheless, a piece of sand is probably not something you want to draw a line on. If you like to draw lines, grab a piece of paper, draw a line on a piece of paper. If you want to do a little bit more permanent, grab some, makeshift equipment, tattoo equipment, makeshift. Go to prison, do some time, commit a crime, go to prison, get a makeshift shiv and a tattoo gun, draw a line on your body, way more permanent. But nonetheless, the point is, this isn't about lines in the sand. This is about Tesla not having any steering wheels on their cars. And we got to ask ourselves, as a people, as a species, as the homos, sapiens, really, who take over this world and lay down the law and say, hey, top dogs over here, and we get to determine our destiny. Do we want to live in a world where we get in a box, where we get in a car where there's no steering wheel? Let me paint you a picture. The year is sometime not too far in the past, and you were driving around, cruising around with your hot babe right beside you, hand on the steering wheel, and there's one hand on the steering wheel, and the other hand is around your babe's neck, reaching over, hugging her tit from the other side, around her neck, underneath the tit, cupping her tit and that gave you pleasure, driving down the Route 66. I don't know, I'm not familiar with Route 66, but it's often, you've heard it's cited in many pieces of art, pop culture, music, Route 60 movies, cinema, theater, and other forms of art. Route 66, and again, cupping the tit with one hand, driving with the other, which give you the confidence and the feeling of like, oh, I'm in control of my life. I'm cupping this tit. I could cup the other tit. I could go around a shorter distance, not go around the neck and go this way and just cup the left tit you could still cup the right tit, not to say that it's impossible to cup the right tit, not having to reach around. You could still cup the right tit, but no, the point is that you cup the tit and the other hand is on the steering wheel, and that gave you a sense of control. We're creating our own path. We don't do it the same way as other people does it, and you might not even cup a tit. You might be finger blasting her down there. That's the sound of the squishy. Her little clam is getting wet. But why? Because you got one hand on the steering wheel and one hand, multiple fingers. Start with one, spit on it for less friction, unless she's a freak and she's into dry fingering and getting fucking, Indian burns on her puss. Not judging. If we didn't judge Stace, we're not gonna judge this bitch. The point is that was a beautiful scene, and that was years. That was just yesterday. That was yesterday. Whereas today, you get in that car with no steering wheel, and all of a sudden, it's like you're totally emasculated. You're not knowing what to do with your left hand. You look like an idiot. You're gonna go and try to reach around and cup her tit. She's gonna freak out and say, "Get your hand off of me in this no steering wheel car." This isn't 2025, 6, or maybe even sometime in the 80s or 90s or even the early 2000s. This isn't Tokyo Drift. Get your hand off my tits. And you're like, "But babe, what changed?" And she'll turn and say, "You've changed. Your car changed. The notion of masculinity changed, and your testosterone levels are dropping, and now our car doesn't have a steering wheel. God damn it, Steve." And she'll break up with you, and she'll go and fuck some dude who's driving a truck that's got extra steering wheels. And his truck, he's got 3 steering wheels. That's how masculine this fella is. His entire car smells like oil and gasoline and diesel. When he pisses diesel. That's how masculine this guy is. Guess what? You just cucked yourself with this no steering wheel car. And I'm a fan of tech, of course. I'm just a little bit worried about the future in terms of what we're willing to give up for a little bit of safety and security. What's next? If we don't stop and draw a line, what is next? Get rid of the brakes. Get rid of brakes. If there's no steering wheel, why have brakes? Just all gas, zero, no steering wheel, all gas, zero brakes, no handbrake. What don't we just get rid of the entire? What don't we just get rid of? What's next? The windows of the car are gonna go next, so you can't see what's outside. So you get inside this car. Doesn't have any steering wheel. Doesn't have any gas pedals. Doesn't have any brake pedals. No handbrakes, no windows. They don't even make it look like a car anymore. It's just like a tissue box on wheels. You get inside, no one sees you, you don't see nobody, no contact with anyone. And that's how you get to your destination. That's called a no engine car. Call the car a no car. Because there's nothing that says car about this car. It's just a box on wheels. Next thing you know, what are we going to get rid of next? Roads. We're probably going to start getting rid of roads, because if you don't, why would you need to have roads if there's no steering wheel? We're just going to go straight up and down a line. Everybody's just going, in straight lines. No, say goodbye to turns. Say goodbye to U-turns. Say goodbye to U-turns and right turns, and you're just going to go straight. We might as well just be, we're regressing now. We might as well just all go to the end. The combustion engine was great, and the locomotive was fine, but guess what? We're going to regress, and we're all going to be riding trains. I hope you're happy, because we're all going to be riding trains if this continues, or maybe not. Maybe it will be actually fantastic. I can't see it from the other side. Maybe having no steering wheel will actually give you more time to talk about your relationship, and maybe use both hands to stimulate the titties. Maybe 2 hands on the tits is better than 1 hand. Who knows? This could actually be kind of a gift if you really think about it. That way you can go down on her and eat her out. You could have finger fucked her in the 80s, 90s, 2000s, but you could never eat her out while we were driving. That was difficult. But now you can. Man, come to think of it, I'd like to eat her out while I'm driving. while the car is driving itself, I like to eat her out. Come to think of it, we've come full circle, ladies and gentlemen. I do apologize. I have to say that I've changed my mind once again. I'm going all in. I'm going all in on this no steering wheel car. My God, the years I've spent with only one hand on a tit in a car and the other on a steering wheel, and not having the pleasure of eating her out while we're going, 90 km an hour on the highway. Times have changed. My goodness, get rid of these old ass cars with steering wheels. And that's the selling point of Tesla. If you're Elon, if you're listening, let this be the selling point for your product. You can now eat her out while you're driving. The future is eating her out while the car does the driving. There it is. There you go. We just came full circle. You're welcome out there. Crikey, mate, let's take a trip to Australia's in the bush together. It was a beautiful day in the Australian bush, and the long down under, and the deep down under, and the big down under, and the down under. What came before the down under? There was something else as a descriptive for down under. The big bush down under, the thunder down under. You know what I'm talking about. Australia. It's this one is a little bit heartbreaking. It's alarming. Because I don't even know how to discuss this, but given that this is our job, we'll do it together. Ladies and gents, Australia is now I'm not there, I don't know, but this is what I've heard, this is what I've read. Apparently they are implementing a government ID or a facial recognition in order for you beautiful adults out there to go out there and watch your pornos. Apparently, ladies and gentlemen. The government is coming in and asking for people to sign in using their ID, some sort of government ID, or maybe do a facial recognition to watch their pornos. Ladies and gentlemen, members of the jury, beautiful town folks who've gathered here today in the town square. Let's square this circle together. Not too long ago, we had the privilege as adults of going online without having to sign in, without having to show ID to watch our beautiful pornos. Independent, free, liberated, with our chest hair out in the wind, with our unclipped toenails wiggling about, with our armpits sweaty. We went online and we typed in our favorite porno sites and looked up our favorite categories, scrolled up and down and selected our favorite videos and watched and jerked ourselves off and or finger fucked ourselves and or watched while we grabbed a heavy duty industrial sized equipment, plugged it into the wall, took down the neighborhood's power lines and grid because our toy requires that much energy. It vibrated. Essentially, it got the job done after 15 to 30 minutes. Heavy duty. Of course, we do lend it to the city to do construction work when times are rough and jackhammers are scarce. We hand out our, little vibrator that's as good on cement as it is on the clit. The point is that we used to watch our videos without having to sign in and prove that we are above 18, but that day apparently in Australia is now behind us. It's devastating, it is sad, it's horrendous. Because if it starts with our porn, ladies and gentlemen, if it starts with our porn, where will it lead? Is this a slippery slope that will lead us into a space, into a world where we are now required to all of us sign in and show proof of ID when we're about to go to any website, whether it could be X, it could be Facebook tomorrow, it could be Instagram the next day, it could be TikTok the day before or after, doesn't matter. Or you just want to go and join some sort of online forum, or you want to go on Reddit or whatever. If you have to log in and prove that you're above 18, it's just in my eyes, it's sad because it takes away what's important, one of the pillars that's important in our society. And again, that's the privilege and the right to have a little bit of anonymity if you choose to do so. Now, I don't know what we're going to do in Australia, but I believe we're on the wrong path in this scenario. I've read a little bit into it. I've done my own thinking on the topic. I hear there are people that are for this, and they say that this is supposed to be helping children, you know, not get exposed to images that are not appropriate for them. Others say that there's, you know, you can go around the age verification using VPNs, and that if there's, you know, some large websites that do want to play by their rules and ask you to provide government ID or facial recognition, there's other websites lesser known that they'll always be around, and then people will just, you know, go into those channels and watch the videos there, which, you know, it's a problem that I don't have the answers for. I don't know what to do about it in terms of, you know, one, protecting children, yes, important. Two, protecting those who make these contents, adult contents, protecting them as well, so they're not being, you know, abused or whatever, so that they're doing it based on their own accord and they choose to do it in a safe manner. Yes, these are all important, but at the same rate, for the safety of some, are we gonna just toss our freedoms and, again, options of having a little bit of anonymity while we're going online? Is this what William Wallace fought for, ladies and gentlemen? What did he say when he was up on that hill? He says something along the lines of, they may take our freedoms, but they'll never take our porn. No, wait, what did he say? You may come for our porn magazines, but he said this was in the 80s. You may come for our magazines, but we are moving to VHS. And that was in the 80s, 90s, and soon I've even heard of porn being available on floppy disks. Lasses and lads, floppy disks, it's floppy. And then he mooned the crowd. That was right before the attack. Mooned the crowd, gave a speech about CDs and porn, and then he said, "Come, let me get on my horse and ride on." And you know, they may take our X-rated videos away, but they'll never take away our Fritos. And he said Fritos or freedom, I can't remember which. Snacking is important. You got to keep snacks. You got to keep eating while you're working during a hard day. So you need to get some calories. Brought to you by Fritos. This war is brought to you by Fritos. They may take away our snack time, but they'll never take away our snacks. Fritos. This war is brought to you by Fritos. This podcast could be easily brought to you by Fritos as well. But the point is, I don't think that's what William Wallace was fighting for, to get rid of, you know, our sense of anonymity. I don't think that's what Martin Luther King, when he had that wet dream, remember that wet dream that he woke up and he's like, man, I had this dream and it's just bodily fluids just came out. Remember that dream? Not to be mistaken with the other famous dream. The man had more than one dream. All right, ladies and gentlemen, you may have heard the famous one, but this is just as famous, if not even more famous, in terms of this one had more depth to it, and it was wet. So a lot of people are like, oh, talk about his dry dreams. The man had more than dry dreams, okay? I don't think this is what, you know, Mother Teresa was talking about when she said fucking, you know, the rosary. She talked about that, I think. She grabbed her rosary beads and she said, I don't even know what language she spoke. Mother Teresa, was she Italian? Or I forget did she speak English? Doesn't matter. The point is she grabbed her rosaries and said, these rosaries are great to, you know, you can fucking, you know, stress reliever, but also it's, you know, talk about a pearl necklace, talk about putting it up your puss. Talked about that. She said that the rosary has multiple uses. Mother Teresa said that, and I don't think she wanted us to, you know, record ourselves and give our facial recognition to some sort of AI software that's, you know, putting it in a bank and jotting down every little tiny, you know, request that you put in. Like, let's say your boy wants to go in online and not have to prove that he's over 18, but he still wants to watch hairy puss videos. That's right. And your boy has to now put his government ID there and then they make a catalog, and that's fine, because that's innocent and fine. Most people, a good chunk of the population loves a good hairy puss. But what if they do other stuff and they're like, oh, this guy likes to, or this gal likes to watch kinky porn, and let's just collect this data and blackmail them once they want to do something semi-important in life. Oh, you want to go do something semi-important in your life? Hey, check this out, everybody. Look at this chick. she's into kinky porn, and everybody's like, oh no, if they're judgmental, that is. Nonetheless, the point is anonymity, and for Tito's, for Fruit Loops are on the line, ladies and gents. Let us not forget what we're fought for. A lot of people want to engage, but they don't know how. The topic, of course, is a vomit play, or playing with vomit. This came anonymously once again. And somebody wrote in, I want to begin vomit play or playing with vomit. How do I do this? I'm glad you asked that question. Thank you for this heartfelt moment. Vomit play. Of course, one can vomit play or play with vomit. You can do it solo. You can throw up all on yourself while you're like, when can I do it? You can do it any time of the day. You could do it on an empty stomach, which will give you like it'll be more acidic. It won't, because you've probably digested. If you just wake up in the morning and you just digested the food from the night before, you'll probably vomit a little bit more of, clear fluid, but you could play with that. You could just vomit all over your body, rub it all over yourself, get a mirror and watch yourself vomit, and then rub it all over yourself, rub it all over your hair, your face, your body, and play with it. Cup it in your hand and like throw it up in the air, and that's one way to play with it. Throw it in the air and then catch it in your mouth. Open your mouth, throw the cupped vomit in the air, or run in a circle, catch it in your mouth. That's another way you could play with vomit. Of course, this doesn't have to be a solitary endeavor. You could always invite family, friends, acquaintances, even strangers. I remember once meeting a stranger, and we were like, what are we gonna do? And together we came up with, let's vomit play. And we did that. You could start throwing up, and then have the individual in front of the stranger or the friend or family member throw up into your throw up. So you have now two projectile vomits hitting each other, and try to see whose vomit can out vomit the other, and then whoever gets their vomit into the other person's mouth wins. But grand scheme of things, in this game, it's all winners. You could do that. You could do it in a throuple. You could throw up with three people, and have one person throw up, have the next person catch it in their mouth, throw up both theirs and yours into the next person's mouth, and the third person will have 2 doses of vomit in their mouth plus their own, and they'll have to now throw up in your mouth, it'll come full circle eventually. This will all come full circle eventually. And whoever can't take the vomit at the end of the day and throw it up and pass it to the next person loses the game. And once again, despite the fact that they lost the game, in this game, vomit play, there are no losers. You can do this with up to 5 people. Sure, you could do it with 6 or more. There's no shame of doing it with 6 or more. But it's just a matter of like, sometimes you gotta have a number of players in a game. 5 I say is ideal. 6, I'm comfortable with 6. Anything more than 6 is a little bit like, do we even want to do this right now? It's just might be a little bit too much, or what do I know? You could do it with 12 people. Fuck it up, do it with 12 people. Vomit play. You could get balloons. You could get balloons, and instead of water balloons, you could vomit inside the balloons and toss it at each other. Friends, family members. I know grandparents love it when children do this. So if you're like, what do I teach my kid out there to do while he or she is visiting grandpa or grandma? Vomit in a balloon and fucking tie it in a knot and then toss it at your grandparents. You could throw up, sun dry your throw up, your vomit. Get a little tray, throw up in a tray, sun dry it, and dry it out, and it'll be like, you can lick it. You can lick it like candy or Fruit Loops. That's how they make Fruit Loops. Not Fruit Loops, fruit roll-ups. That's how they make fruit roll-ups. And you could do that with your throw up in a tray, sun dry it, very similar to it's the same method as sun dried tomatoes. Vomit in a tray, sun dry it, crack it into little pieces, chew on it whenever, and that's like, the best time you're playing with vomit. You could vomit in a envelope and ship it to your family or friends, and they open it up. What's inside the envelope? It's vomit. What are we doing here? Playing with vomit. You could, when you're sitting in the back of a car, behind the driver or the passenger who's in the front as well, you could like reach over and throw up inside their blouse or shirt, and that's again another way to play with vomit, which is really nice. Of course, they won't be able to throw up on you, which sucks because they're in the front. It's difficult for them to do that. But if they decide to turn around and throw up on you, that's a hell of a lot more fun than them not throwing up on you. And they could do that with the no steering wheel car. Remember, if they have that no steering wheel car, even if they're the driver, they can turn around and vomit right back in your face. So these are some methods that I've come up with. Of course, please, I'm sure there's an endless amount of ways to go about when it comes to playing with vomit. If you have played with vomit, if you've thrown up on the ground, slurped it back up, and then threw up again, leave a comment. If you have thought of any other ideas of how to play with vomit, please feel free to leave a comment. This is a community. This is a grassroots movement. We are taking a tiny step at a time each and every day. I hope this helps. Let's skirt, all right? Let's skirt, shall we? Tennessee. If I could say something about Tennessee, I would and I will. I heard this one and I'm not sure what to make of this, to be honest with you. Is this for real, or is this one of these, like, or is this one of those little pieces of info and news that you get, that gets peppered in, that they try to, put in, they try to, program your mind into getting ready for some future event? Not quite sure. It could be what they say it is. I believe somebody was doing construction in Tennessee. Somebody was digging up the ground, and apparently a mysterious illness came about and got 36 people sick. 36 people got sick because people were doing construction. They dug up the ground and they didn't know what was happening. At first they thought it was like, oh, what is this? They had no idea. They dug a little bit deeper into it, and apparently in Tennessee, when they dug up the ground to do construction, there was fungus in the ground. There's fungus in the ground, and they dug up the fungus, and the fungus released spores into the air and apparently caused what they call histoplasmosis. Histoplasmosis, which sounds like a TV actually when I think of it. We get the new 75-inch histoplasmosis. Sounds like a TV, but they say it's a mysterious illness. Again, 36 got sick, one person died, and the ailments very similar in terms of symptoms, very similar to like a flu ailment, but then, fever, coughing, this, that, and the aches, sores, this, that, and the other, and then one person died. The person that died had, underlying issues, health concerns, which just, it kind of blew my mind because they said that this could happen almost anywhere. And as they said that these spores and these funguses are like, they said a large portion of the land, like, I forget how much. They said like, 3/4 of the land has these mushrooms, these fungus in the earth. When you do construction, it releases the mushrooms and the fungus, and they release the spores, and then you get histoplasmosis. We've done construction for literally thousands of years. We've done construction and we've dug the ground up. There was mushrooms, there was tree roots, there was rocks, there was bedrocks. There were, waterbed rocks. There were like Japanese style fucking just, no bed frame bedrocks. Just doesn't matter. The point is that we've always done construction. So all of a sudden we're doing construction now, and us digging up some construction site that has these mushrooms is releasing the spores, and we're getting histoplasmosis via air because we're doing construction now. And somebody just died. And I asked myself, man, could it not be the jab that a lot of people got a long time ago? This mysterious illness that all of a sudden has come to light because of a construction project. I could be completely wrong about this. But my mind just went somewhere else. I'm like, man, could this mysterious illness that this person that had, comorbidities and underlying health issues, that they died from the spores released by this mysterious fungus, this histoplasmosis. Again, we've been doing construction for literally millions of years, and no one's died from construction. Okay, some people have died from construction, but that's accidents. People don't die because we dig up the ground. So that's what I said to myself. I'm like, oh, is this another way of them saying, don't look at the number of deaths due to jabs, And also one of those, another portion of my mind went to, man, are they just getting us, Are they peppering us, salt and peppering us with ideas of don't do construction? You don't need housing. Who needs to build? It's like, bitch, you bought all the land. You did all the construction. What about the filthy rich who buy large amounts of land and do construction all the time? How come they never die? How come this bitch with, comorbidities died? And again, did it have anything to do with her jab? How do we know is this histoplasmosis? Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. Just food for thought, putting it out there. Get outside. Don't stay indoors and fucking do construction, because construction doesn't kill. Construction saves lives. Oil and gas prices are extremely high. That's what they say. That's what I've seen. Oil and gas prices are high, ladies and gentlemen, as a result of all the Middle East conflict that's going on. But oil and gas prices are extremely high. How high are they? Thank you for asking. Oil and gas prices are so high that apparently cops had to go and talk with them. Oil and gas were sitting in the car freaking out, thinking that they are traveling 240 miles an hour. Once the cops had a little talking to them, they noticed that the key was not even in the ignition, but oil and gas prices were nonetheless sitting in the driver and passenger seat and just fucking freaking out and high. Just they're high as a kite, these oil and gas prices. Freaking out. Oh my God, we're going so fast, 240 miles an hour. Pretending that the wind is blowing in their face hole, making noises like that as if the wind is hitting their face hole because they're going so fast. Meanwhile, they're just fucking high, man. They're just fucking high. This oil and gas prices are high. Oil and gas prices are so high that apparently some people have seen them going off on a ledge and trying to jump off because they believe that they can fly. That's how high oil and gas prices are. Oil and gas prices are so high right now that they've been staring at their hands for the past 75 hours, just staring at their hands, thinking that there is more to life. But that's all they say, nothing more. By simply staring at their hands and saying there's just got to be more to life. That's how high oil and gas prices are. Oil and gas prices are so high right now that they've actually left their family members behind and they've moved to a new city and have gotten new people pregnant. That's how high oil and gas prices are right now. And they're only going to get higher. Oil and gas prices are so high right now that they're actually now called astronauts. That's how high these motherfucking space agents are. Oil and gas prices are so high right now that they think that there's bugs crawling in their skin. That's how high oil and gas prices are right now. Oil and gas prices are so high right now that they actually came up with a new country hit that they thought is going to be a smash hit, but then later only learned that it wasn't. They thought it was a smash hit, but it was actually a bunch of gibberish. That's how high oil and gas prices are. But nonetheless, ladies and gents, it will eventually. I've seen oil and gas prices myself. I'm like, man, you guys are so fucking high right now. To calm down, and they're just like, oh, go fuck yourself, man. We're oil and gas prices. We want to stay high. And they did. They were high. They were so high. Oil and gas prices were so high that they had pistols in their hand and they thought that they were shooting blanks, but they weren't. They were actually shooting at each other and they bled. That's how high they were. Talk about gun safety issues. Oil and gas prices were so high that they actually decided to grab a bow and arrow and put an apple on each other's heads and then shoot it off. But they actually, shot each other in the shoulder and the clavicle, and that sucks for them. But that's how high oil and gas prices were. Oil and gas prices were so high they started speaking Chinese. That's crazy. Oklahoma City. Oklahoma City. Amazon workers in Oklahoma City were actually left outside the Amazon warehouse during a tornado in Oklahoma City. They complained, they went online and they made a video about it. It's a whole thing, it became a whole thing. And they try to make Amazon look bad during the tornado. So tornado comes and they're being kicked out of the Amazon warehouse during the tornado. And they thought that they should share their thoughts on the matter. Just want to inform everybody, the viewers of this show, that the workers for Amazon were removed off the premise and were shot to death and were swiftly replaced by robots, AI robots, who are now doing their work. We do apologize for any inconvenience that these Amazon workers have caused the populace. Let there be no more stories of Amazon workers or any workers really working for any giant corporation of complaining. Nobody wants to hear you complain. We can't have that. Again, we have already replaced you with robots. We've saved a ton of money. You'll be glad to hear that we've saved a ton of money on hiring robots instead of humans. And these guys don't need to eat. They don't need to take a shit. So we got rid of all the bathrooms, save money there on plumbing. They don't need to rest. They can just work 24/7, 365, just fucking working. Work, you know, and no thought of like, oh, what is the meaning of life? What is, you know, what does it mean to be always working? Is there more to life? That, you know, none of this, you know, human existential crisis sort of the moments that we all have every once in a while, and we're like, oh, and none of this. They're just gonna be working, and none of this, the needy workers' days are done. It's over, needy workers. Of course. This is, you know, because we got to draw the line as a giant corporation. We got to draw the line because we let you in during the tornado, right? We let you. You're like, what? Just let us in. You're in a tornado. Why can't we just, you know? It's right there. A tornado's coming. We're in Oklahoma City. Tornado City, Oklahoma City. It's about to go down. Let us in, man. You'll say that. But what if we let you in? What if we let you in and everything's fine for like half an hour? Everything's fine for, you know, 2-3 hours. Outside's a mess. But what if you're just like, you know, hanging out in the warehouse, off duty, off hours, off the clock. Can of paint falls on your head. And now you're suing Amazon. You're suing Amazon because a can of paint fell on your head in the warehouse. You weren't supposed to be there. It was off hours. You weren't paying attention, playing it fast or loose because it's off hours and there's a tornado outside. Forget the rules. Can of paint to the head. Next thing you know, Amazon being sued. You want to sue us? You want to sue Amazon? You want to sue A to Z, motherfucker? All right? Get it straight. What if you go in there? And, you know, maybe the tornado lasts a long time, like 7, 8, 10 hours. You start running low on supplies and you start eating yourselves. Half of you start eating the other half of the workers. Do you want that? Do you want the cameras rolled out? Do you want the news stations, local news stations of Oklahoma City coming in with the giant cameras from the cameras that they used in the 80s and 90s, but they still have them around? Because it's cool to have them around. Why not? Why must everything be so small? And do you want them? Do you want them outside the Oklahoma City Amazon warehouse, you know, filming you fucking cannibals, you eating each other, and now you want to sue us? Half of the remaining ones want to sue because they've ate their friends. And now that they've snapped out of it because the tornado's over, now they want compensation. You want compensation from Amazon, motherfucker? All right? Once again, they were all removed, shot to death, guillotined, tossed in a moat filled with all sorts of reptiles. I'm talking anacondas, I'm talking fucking Jumanji shit, I'm talking fucking, you know, underwater apes, all of it, with crocodiles, you know, fucking scissoring crocodiles, scissor crocodile right there. They're gone. So I just want to say, rest assured, you won't sue Amazon, and rest assured to the populace, your products will be safely delivered to you. Do not fret, okay? And you're like, oh, let us in, you're in a tornado. What's next? Heavy rain, you want to come in as well as heavy rain? Oh, let you in. Next thing you know, you're suing us. Litigation, is that the path you want to go? You want to slip and fall while you're not working and you want to sue Amazon, motherfucker? None of that shit. Next thing you know, there's a mother bear and who's, you know, running loose because she just gave birth in the trash can and in the back alley, and then you're running away. Next thing you know, you're like, oh no, this mother bird is hungry and angry and she wants to feed her cubs. Let us in the warehouse. You want us to do that? Next thing you know, you get inside and, you know, somebody fucking, you know, somebody says, let's have an orgy, and then you all break into an orgy. You want to have an orgy in our facilities, and then film it, and then release it, and then say, this is what they do, and this is what they do to us as Amazon workers when we're trapped inside, escaping a mother bear, trying to feed her hungry cubs. some of us engage in orgies, which now we're not too cool with that. And that's, after it's all done, it's said and done, you're like, oh, we weren't cool with the orgies. Oh, you want to have an orgy in our warehouse? Motherfuckers. Do not worry about them, ladies and gentlemen. They are dealt with, thoroughly dealt with. And by that, I mean they're dead. A German tourist, which, this Germans and tourism. A German tourist came to NYC, New York City. New York City, city that never sleeps. Never sleeps, dear city. Never sleep, dear city, 'cause they don't know what sleep is. In New York City, it's always daytime. New York City never sleeps, always light outside. New York City doesn't sleep and don't need rest, 'cause it's New York City. A German tourist went to New York City. What was his name? Fekel Mons. Goes to New York City, decides to have himself a spicy taco, a little taco. Decides to grab a little salsa, put it on the taco, eats the taco in New York City, has a blast in New York City, decides, while he's visiting New York City, to sue the taco place. All right? I forget the name of the taco place. I want to say Los Tacos Numero Uno is what I want to say. I can't remember correctly. It doesn't matter. I believe it feels right inside. Los Tacos Numero Uno. Wants to sue Los Tacos Numero Uno for having too spicy of a taco and salsa for $100 grand. Ladies and gentlemen, these Germans. Oh, the Germans. Beautiful Germans with the sausage and the soccer and the Bundesliga and the beer and the kinky sex. Germans, typical Germans. You get into New York and you want to sue our beautiful Los Tacos Numero Uno restaurant for having too much of a spicy taco or a salsa. Well, guess what? Dismissed, son. You're dismissed. The court is adjourned. You're dismissed. Bailiff, get the things that you're supposed to get. You're out of here, son. Can't sue food for being too spicy is the question that I had to myself. I'm like, can you sue for having food that's too spicy? Moral of the story is, could food be too spicy? I'm gonna make I'm gonna just go out on a limb here. Take a stance that's maybe not popular, but nonetheless, this program is not to please the masses. This program is not to just fucking lay on our backs and take it unless we want to. No. You can't have food that's too spicy. So too spicy. You can't have food that's too spicy, son. You can never have too spicy of a food. I want my food to be so spicy, and I want it to be, I don't even want to be warned about it. You wanted to sue for 100 G's. Well, guess what? The judge saw right through you, Fekel Mons. And apparently while he was staying in the US, he tried to get a couple other lawsuits as well. I forget what they were, but it doesn't matter. They too got dropped. So this guy was just like visiting, and he just wanted to sue sue people and businesses and shit. I don't know what he was trying to sue in other instances, but nonetheless, they all got dropped. But this particular instance, it was about spicy food. If people are making spicy food from whatever, whether it's, spicy wings, whether it's spicy Indian food, spicy Mexican food, spicy Latin food, spicy like Mexican food, Latin food, same thing. Spicy South American. Spicy Chinese, Asian food, spicy Asian food. Spicy European food, which is not the culture's merge. You might be spicy now, doesn't matter. The point is, if you're making spicy food and has flavors, I don't want to be warned. I don't want to know how spicy it is. Surprise me. Surprise me. When it comes to vomit play and watching her take a shit, and spicy food, surprise me. You know what I'm talking about. Surprise me. A little bit spicy, yeah. Mid-level spicy, let's go. High levels of spice, why not? Extreme levels of heat, let's go. I want to bleed from my throat. I'll just say, I want to bleed from my throat every time I eat spicy food, and let it be a surprise, because why should I go into a place expecting a certain level of spice and then come out and have a regular experience where I could walk into a place where they're serving spicy tacos and spicy salsa. I'm like, I love spicy food. I want to say that to myself and the friends that may be with me at the time. I want to say, don't we all love spicy food? And we all do, we'll all agree. And we love spicy food, we'll all say that. And then 2 minutes later, where we're knee deep in the spicy salsa, I want us to all bleed from our throats, because this food is so spicy, it'll make you bleed, all right? I want to get the sharks the instant the food goes down my throat. That's how spicy I want my food to be. I want my wife that I don't know about to come in with me and have a bite of the spicy tacos and salsa and give birth to the child that I put in there just hours ago. Just I want that food to make my child grow into an 18-year-old and just be birthed out right in front of us. That's how spicy. I want my wife to have her water break, but then fix itself, Oh no, this water's broken, but this water fixed itself. It's got a hammer and a nail and a tool belt. This water knows how to saw and measures once and cuts twice. This water never breaks. This water breaks, but then, gets back to work. This water is not a procrastinator. This water doesn't believe in not getting it done right now. This water is back to work. This water never breaks. The point is, ladies and gentlemen, that yes, to answer your questions out there, and thank you for asking me this personal question, can food be too spicy? The answer is no. The answer is no. I want to bleed from my tits, all right? I want my tits to be bleeding. That's how spicy I want my food to be. So that I could talk about it. What would we talk about if we had no spicy food? Or we just went to this restaurant and ate some regular food with no spice? A lot of people, a lot of couples out there are in search of a product, and I've been listening and I've been looking at you guys and gals out there, and I've listened and I've created this so that you could enjoy yourselves in literally any time of the year. Ever want to just, walk with your boo, with your other lovebird, because you're lovebirds? Do you want to put your hand behind them and hold their waist and go a little bit lower and cup an ass? Do you want to put your hand in the back pocket and kind of squeeze her ass, and vice versa? You want to squeeze his ass while you're doing it? You're walking, you want to squeeze the ass. That's you like to do that. And you like to maybe give her a little, just a little tiny little, slap on the cheek as she's walking down. Maybe a little pinch on the old butteroo. You want to talk about? You want to do that, don't you? But you want to do more. Because I've seen you guys. You want to do more. I've seen you gals. I'm listening. This is why I went ahead and I invented a product that will revolutionize the game of couples. We'll call them the game of couples. A cape large enough to be worn by two people, called the couple's cape. That's right. A cape that will give you sufficient coverage in the back, so two of you standing side by side. You wear this couple's cape, comes behind you, falls on the back all the way down, so your backside is completely covered. Feel free to do whatever you fucking want in the back now. Walk down the street with your hand all the way up his or her ass. You could do that now. You could do that with the couple's cape. This is in 1996. This isn't 2021. This isn't 1987 where you had to just be like, oh, hands in the pocket. You can finger blast her now with the couple's cape. You're welcome, relationships. You're welcome. Forget couples counseling, all right? Forget getting it annulled. I'm not talking about annulled. Forget. What do they do when they get it? This marriage is annulled. It's quit boasting about, just quit being French about having anal in your marriage. This marriage is annulled. This fucking weird. I didn't even get married, and I could still be annulled, dude. You don't fucking need marriage to get annulled. The point is, ladies and gents, that the cape will give you a full cover to do whatever you want. I'm talking one finger. I'm talking 2 fingers, dog. I'm talking fucking 3-finger blasting her from the back, right there. cape, coverage. See, and people won't know a damn thing. People won't know a damn thing. Talk about giving you the privacy and anonymity that you need in a day and age where fucking privacy and anonymity are just being hung out to dry. You're welcome out there, and of course you're like, oh, I love that he can finger blast me in the vag from the back, but what if I want to jerk him off? And I thought about that. You can have options. Call now. Call 1-888-772-717, 7727-7172, 7472-2375, 7666-77321, 8729, 011-721-2315, 6799, 821-34, 591. Call that number right now. Call that number right now and you get 2 capes, 2 couples capes. So you can wear one in the back. So you can finger blast her in the back and put one in the front of you. And she can jerk you off as you guys walk. 2 for the price of 1. Or if you don't happen to be the first 100 callers and you're like, what do? I'm on a budget. Just get 1. Put it in the front. Wear like a large bib that gives you the coverage that you need. I'm not out here trying to, a lot of people are like producing products and selling shit just to, squeeze their, the people. I'm not about squeezing. I don't care about squeezing. I don't care about margins and profits. As long as you're happy, I'm happy. So get 1 and yerk him off while he finger blasts you from the front. You're welcome out there. Saving marriages. While we're on the topic of saving marriages, suicide hotlines. I listen to podcasts a lot, of course, and then in between, I don't have that kind of, I haven't subscribed to the luxury package for Spotify. I gotta still listen to like commercials and shit. And between my podcasts that I like to listen to, they'll come in and sometimes, as of late, they'd be like, call them if you're struggling with suicide, and it's just it's a hotline apparently for suicide. They're advertising in between my favorite podcasts. They do that. They're like, call if you need help for suicide. I don't like it that they're called suicide hotlines without actually being hot, because I hate fake advertising. I hate products that sell you something that they're not. If suicide hotlines are supposed to be hotlines, and I want hot bitches on the suicide hotline, and fucking, or for females too. I don't care. Have hot guys. I don't want it to be a suicide hotline unless they're hot. Put an end to it. It needs to stop. How many years have we had these suicide hotlines? And I want to call, and I want it. Not me personally. I want you to be able to call. I want you to be able to call and be like, thinking about it. And I want there to be a hot bitch on the other line, just fucking talking to you in a sexy voice, maybe smoking a cig, maybe having herself a cocktail. I want to kind of have it that it's, I want to get you to be able to Zoom or FaceTime with these hot bitches. If it's supposed to be a hotline, and she's not even there to like tell you not to do it. She's just there. It's a hotline. It's, because a lot of times there's a bias in the suicide hotline. They want to try to like tell you not to do it. I want it to be open-ended. If you want to do it, have somebody encouraging you to do it, but also I want them to be hot. You know what I'm talking about? Lingerie. I'm talking about Brazilian bikinis. I'm talking about full frontal. Let's just lay it out on the table. Full bush, full 90s bush, full frontal bush, telling you to do it. Go ahead, big boy, do it. But in a sexy, female sexy, do it. Watch my tits, do it. Get yourself, do it. While she's squeezing her tits, I'm 6 months pregnant, watch me lactate, do it. A hotline or a beefy guy for the chicks out there who want to do it. Hey, sweetheart, he's like a fucking, lumberjack with like, a plaid shirt, boots, rubber boots, plaid shirt, no pants. I'm about to go chop down some trees, babe, why don't you do it while I chop down these trees? Fucking axe in hand, a squirrel on his shoulder, six pack. What the fuck is a 6-axe? See, he's got the 6-axe. Oh my God, this guy's hot. You just killed yourself because he's got a 6-axe. That's the point. Is I want the hotline to be hot. That's what I want. we're gonna have hotlines, that is. While we're on the subject of hotlines, skirt, skirt. BDSM, ladies and gentlemen, I'm tired of just seeing BDSM stay where it's at. I think it needs to expand. BDSM, I'm not a practitioner myself, nor somebody who even views BDSM, but I do believe it's a community out there that exists who engages in BDSM. It's bondage, which, by the way, there's not enough. It's not enough letters for what BDSM is. It's bondage, it's discipline, it's dominance. So that's 2D. So it's discipline, dominance, submission, and then sadism, and then sadism and masochism. So the letters in BDSM, you should get rid of one of the D's, discipline or dominance. Get rid of one. It should just be bondage, discipline, submission. And again, if you're gonna say sadomasochism, then it should be BDSS. Then no, masochism. If it's the letters don't make sense. It doesn't matter. But I want there to be a competition to find out who's the best at BDSM. Let's just simplify for this podcast, if we could. BDSM: bondage, discipline, and or dominance, I guess. Submission, sadomasochism, or combination, or just either or. Again, doesn't matter, but I want there to be a competition for us to actually find out who is really good at sadomasochism, bondage, discipline, dominance, submission. How do you even judge these things? Start with the first one, bondage. You know, what requires good bond? Like you probably need somebody who, you know, you need to be able to you need to be good with a rope. You need to be good with a rope. A background and being a cowboy would probably help you. If you lasso a horse or a horse puppy, a pony, or you know, baby cattle, maybe, you know, a calf. If you lasso a calf, you're probably good with bondage. I would say that probably, you know, this cowboy knows how to fucking do the bondage. The judges give him an excellent 9.5 on his performance in bondage. Look the way he used that rope to do bondage. Or like, you know, what if you're good with like duct tape, or like any sort of tape, really. Does that, you know, because what's better, a rope or, you know, duct tape? Or a rope is, you know, it could be, it's sturdy. You could tie it in a bow, you could tie it in a knot. But what if somebody comes in with tape and like does bondage with tape? What's better, bondage with tape or rope? I'd like to know. And I think if you like to know, I like to know as well. How will we judge this? We need to see it in a competition, really. So that's bondage. That's how you maybe do bondage. Or like, you know, what if you like, you know, feet binding? What about that? You know, what if somebody doesn't use a rope? What if they just, you know, use a little, you know, thinner rope, but they just, you know, do Chinese style feet bondage? You know, is that BDSM? Is that, you know, what if it's, you know, what if it's bondage, but what if it's like wrapping a gift with a nice little, you know, with a nice little ribbon at the end? Oh, this guy does bondage really well. You know? What if I'm mistaken about this whole bondage thing? What if it's who's the best bond? That's bondage. Who's the best 007? What if I'm not even, again, because I'm not familiar. I'm not a practitioner nor a viewer of BDSM. It could be bondage. It could be like, who's the best? Was it Sean Connery? Was it Daniel Craig? Who's going to be the next one? Putting it out there. I've said this before. I'd like to, if possible, I don't even care about the pay. Could I be a villain in a Bond movie? Leave a comment, #BondVillain. I'll kill you, Bond. I'll kill you. Bondage, discipline. What if somebody's like, you know, what if you're in university and you're really disciplined about your studies and you want to I fucking kill discipline and BDSM. Does that count? You know, I sit down and write those essays, discipline. Hit the gym, write the essays, discipline, hand in the assignments, go off to, you know, get a job in the tech industry afterwards, and I put in the working hours. I'm disciplined. Is that disciplined? How would the judges rate that? Dominance, you know, how do you judge dominance? Like, what if you get into an argument with like a 5-year-old and you fucking dominate that 5-year-old in an argument, you know, which one of the Ninja Turtles is the strongest? Fucking, that's a 5-year-old. Any of them that you pick, you could fucking out-argue a 5-year-old. Dominance, this guy's really dominant. The other ones are a little bit, you know, Or what if you like fucking arm wrestle the elderly? Dominance, this guy is big into BDSM. Did you see the way he cracked that 90-year-old's pelvis in half through arm wrestling him or her? Dominance. Throw the physically handicapped in the water and watch them struggle to swim while you're killing it, doing laps after laps. Dominance. Watching a mother get fucking, you know, she's like 8.5 months pregnant. She's struggling with cramps. You're working out there, no cramps, dominating. She can't even bend over to tie her shoes. You're fucking, you know, whether it's Velcro, tying shoes, you could fucking do it bent over backwards. That's how flexible you are. Dominance. Or like yelling at ants on the ground. Fucking stay down there. Dominance. Sadomasochism. That one's sadomasochism, or just sadism or masochism. So that's getting pleasure from inflicting and or obtaining pain. You know, how do you know who's the best? But this is why we gotta have the competition. What if somebody is, you know, been training all their life for all, you know, they specifically travel to places abroad and put themselves in peculiar circumstances, and they may have gotten arrested by all sorts of, you know, government agencies and have been, you know, in different torture chambers all around the world, and they fucking, you know, master the art of being in pleasure whilst being tortured, and then they just show up and you're fucking whipping their tits, and this guy's fucking getting pleasure. So that's masochism right there. Sadism, on the other hand, would be inflicting pain on somebody, but then how do you know who's best at inflicting pain? What kind of pain are we talking about? You know, could pleasure itself be turned into pain? What if you give somebody an orgasm and you're like, that's fucking pleasure city, but what if it keeps going on for like 75 hours? 75 hours of orgasms? You'd be dead, or like really tired, or at least dehydrated. So all in all, that is to say, I'd like to see the ultimate. This is why I'm teaming up with whoever likes to team up right now. It's an open offer. It's an open door. The gates are open. The table's ready. The offer's on the table. That's it. We're teaming up together with whoever would like to team up, and we are creating the ultimate BDSM championship. If you think you've got what it takes to bondage, discipline, dominance or dominate, submission, or if you like to, what if we didn't talk about submission, of course. What if, you know, submission, oh man, how do you judge that one? What if somebody's really good at getting that fucking, you know, ankle lock in there? Submission, finish up, ankle lock, submission, you know, triangle city, submission. He's really good at it, or she's really good at it. Or what if it's like about, I don't even know what it's about. What kind of submission are we talking about? This is why we need the competition to clarify. What if it's about submitting applications? This guy's been submitting application for 25 years. Really good at doing paperwork. Submitted paperwork. He's good at submission, or she's good at submission. A lot of times people like to get busy and make love, but they're careful about the way they're treating their clothing or their attire. They're like, oh, let me take it off in a slow and careful manner because things are expensive. I don't want to have to rip my clothes off, despite the fact that deep down inside of you, all of you want to engage in the sexuals by ripping the clothes off. And I ask myself, why does the public want to rip off the clothes and have sex, but why can't they? It was simple. It was right in front of me. It's the cost of things. The cost of things is expensive. How many times did she turn to you and said, rip it, and then put it inside my puss? How many times did she say that? How many times have you done it? A few times, but most often when you're like, oh, I'm gonna rip it, and then you thought about the cost of lingerie and how expensive it is, you gently pulled it off and start finger blasting her so she, you know, get her mind off the whole ripping off the old lingerie. You slide it off because her money and your money, it's all your money. It's all of it is together. It doesn't matter that she bought it independently. It's coming out of the house money. So you've been cautious. You've been frugal. That's because things are expensive. I like to say that again, I've teamed up with a great number of people out there. We've created great attire for the cheapest and lowest of prices. I'm talking prices that can't be beaten by a child worker, working in some sort of forced labor camp somewhere out there outside of the Western Hemisphere. A little bit of if it's, you're like, how do you get them so cheap? We don't even pay them. That's how we save a ton on our products. And that's how we can provide you with t-shirts, shirts, underwear, boots, jackets, hoodies, scarves, mittens, and all of it, because they're cheap, they're not durable, they're still looking good, but they're extremely cheap. So you can rip them off, whatever. You've always been cautious. You're like, rip it off, but not the jacket. Living that cuck life, rip that jacket right off them. Rip it off them right now, because guess what? You can afford it. You can fucking afford it. Money means nothing to us. Money means nothing to us. It's your satisfaction. So rip it off, Clothing Attires and Co. That's the name of the company, and you can rip it all off. I'm talking rip his shoes off, lady. You're like, I want to rip your I want to bite your shoes off, and you can never do that. Can never do that. One, it was like, unsanitary. Two, the cost and the leather was fucking durable, but now with cheap clothing items, you can just rip it off his feet. And same for you, fella. Rip her toque off her head. Just rip it off instead of taking it off, and then gently pet her head, or lick her eyeball, whatever you're into. Or, fucking give her the works, wet willies in the ears. She likes it, doesn't she? Right there. Right there. So, rippable clothing items, you're welcome out there. This bitch here got my attention. Corey Richens. Forget where she's from. Corey Richens. I want to say she's based in Utah. I could be mistaken, but doesn't matter. Her name I remember. Corey Richens, author of a children's book on the topic of coping with grief. She's an author. She wrote a book on how to cope with grief for children. It's a wonderful book. Just so happens that she also murdered her husband, and she wanted to get the inheritance. Apparently she was in line to get it. She found out that she would kill her husband, murdered her husband. She's now convicted. She murdered her husband. Apparently she was going to get $4 million, and she was going to go run off with her boo, with her side dick. Murdered her husband, write a book on how to cope with grief for children, and then get away right off to the sunset. It saddens me that she's convicted, because at the end of the day, I've not read the book, but I could imagine it was a good book. At least she has first-hand experience of, what it knows to inflict a situation where you're gonna have to cope with grief. How would you know how to cope with grief if you've never experienced it and provided for your children? Watch your children grieve, learn from that, write a book. So the book is great. The book is, say what you will about her. She might be like, you're like, oh, she's a monster. She might be, but the book might be one of the best books for children on how to cope with grief. I don't know the story. I never got a chance to read it. It's probably went something along the lines of, mommy was a little kid just like you one day, and then eventually she grew up and fell in love with daddy, and then they got married and had kids, you guys, and then mommy decided to, to open her outlook on life, and she started having thoughts about, dick outside of marriage, and maybe she wasn't satisfied. That's right, mommy wasn't satisfied, and that's when she decided to, kill her husband, and then go and get dick somewhere else, and then go spend that inheritance money. And she was so close to getting away had it not been for these nosy, investigators finding out that she did the murder. It's crazy. This bitch did that. It is a good book. I highly recommend the book. I don't know the name of the book, to be honest with you, but again, its author's name is Corey Richens. Please support the book. The book itself is good. Do not judge the art from the artist. It could, it's a fine line. It's a fine line, But nonetheless, ladies and gentlemen, until next time, Keep on lactating out there, and I'll see you on Friday. Peace out. Get out of here.